I've had a bunch of electric choke questions here over the last few months, and I've neglected to answer them directly. So today, I'll put them all in a video, give you some additional tips and some things that to look for and how to adjust an electric choke. We'll talk about wiring as well. So we got a few topics to cover today. Hopefully, it'll clear a few things up for you. Let's go. Obviously, the VRS doesn't have a choke on it at all, much less an electric or a manual one. So we'll move into the bench and we'll do all the work on these here, and I'll show you exactly what we're looking at. We've covered electric choke stuff in a couple other videos in the past, and I'll link those down below or on the screen so you can go follow them if you need to. So we've addressed quite a few of these before, but there's been a couple of things that folks want some clarification on. Some comments that I've made that if you've watched this channel at all, you know that I typically don't make statements unless I can show it to you, back it up. I've done that over and over and over again on the Flat Tappet Cam series where we actually cut apart cams. We measured crown on lifters, showing you the insides of the Edelbrock carburetor, not just talking about it, actually machining them down so you can see passages and all those things. I believe those are important. That's what I want out of a YouTube video that I go watch, and so that's what I try to deliver to you. So we got two things that we're really going to talk about today, some adjustments and some things that keep the choke from holding those adjustments, like when the flap is open, how far it opens up. We'll talk about that, but one of the most important ones we're going to talk about today is wiring, and I've made that statement over and over again. Where to wire an electric choke, not in the ignition system, not out of the alternator, directly to a key-on 12-volt source. Now that's very important because there's some things that folks will wire into a choke and just assume that that it's all 12 volt, it'll be fine, and it typically is not. So today I'm going to show that to you. So let's talk about wiring first, and we'll get down and dirty on that. We'll probably play around with the Edelbrock a little bit more, but it's the same on the Holley carburetor, and certainly there's some things differently on the Linkage that I'll show you on the Holley versus the Edelbrock carburetor. But when it comes to wiring, like I made mention a minute ago, 12 volts. Constant 12 volts, not 12 volts at start, not 12 volts occasionally. These require a constant stream of 12 volt power going to it for the choke mechanism to operate correctly. And if it doesn't, then you get into situations where the choke is only partially open, it doesn't fully open up all the way. There's a dozen things that can, make it kind of funky or frustrating for you when you feel like you're losing power, you've got an off idle bog or hesitation. Well, it could very well be that the choke's not open all the way. And if you make a mistake on the wiring, you could run into problems. I'm going to go ahead and clear the bench of the Holley, get rid of it. We'll just work on the Edelbrock carburetor and show you a few things with it when the electric choke's hooked up and what it looks like when it doesn't work correctly and then how to fix it. Edelbrock does give you this nice little accessory package that comes with the wiring out of it. We're not going to get complicated. That's the wiring I'm going to use to hook this thing up. Here's what we're going to do. I've got the battery here out of the GMC truck. I've got my idle Edelbrock carburetor, and I've got a couple of tools we're going to use because we're going to look at current flow, heat, and all that, kind of clear up some things. So let's do that first. We'll hook that up directly to the choke, the battery. We'll put the voltmeter on it. We'll go from there. Before we get started, we'll put the temperature gun on there so we can take a look at that, because I think that's important to see what that looks like and why that port is in the carburetor to keep the electric choke cool, because this thing's going to generate some heat. So I'll snap a picture here of it, but yeah, very simple. I just want you to see that before we start adding power to it. Got some power hooked up. Let's just see that we are getting 12 volts here at the choke. So 12.12 looks like is where we're at. Acceptable. Constant 12 volt power. Now, obviously the battery needs a little bit more of a charge, but close enough. We are at the 12 volts of power that choke needs to operate on. So I've had it hooked up here for probably about 30 seconds, 45 seconds. It's not quite hot yet, so we'll leave this hooked up for a minute or two and let our Edelbrock choke warm up so we can see what that looks like. But very important to keep 12 volts power to that choke. We'll talk about that here in a second. But let's let this warm up for a second. I can already feel it getting pretty warm, actually. So it's definitely heating up. So let's let it sit there for a minute. We'll go from there. So after about 2 minutes here of being it hooked up, man, maybe 3, our Edelbrock choke is at 144, 142 degrees already. That's why that port is in there. It looks like a vacuum leak if you remove the choke housing, but that port is designed to let air flow through the carburetor as it's going through, to pull air through there to cool that electric choke housing down. We'll take a look at it on the car one day, on the truck one day when the carburetor's back on there. But yeah, we can see it and see how it keeps at a steady temperature. But it's warm. It's hot enough that it's only going to keep increasing. It's 151 now. We've only been on here for about a minute, so it's going to keep increasing in temperature. But I wanted you to see that, to see what that looks like as power goes on. And if you don't have air flowing through the carburetor and through that port, you're going to increase the temperature of it. Now, I have seen these get hot enough where it'll melt the plastic choke housing in here. Hopefully you don't get into that situation. We're at 157 degrees, so it's only going to keep going up. One little visual you can do on your Edelbrock choke is to take a look at it once it is fully heated up. So when the engine is fully heated up, you've got power to the choke, it's been running for a few minutes, your choke should be wide open. If it's not, if it's only partially opened, and you can visually take a look at that, just grab hold of the choke and you can see, obviously, that flap is not all the way open. And if it's that way, then yeah, you can run into situations where you get a lot of black smoke, missing power, hesitation, stumble. All those things can occur at really anything, off idle, mid power range, wide open throttle, because you're not metering the correct amount of fuel. The choke needs to be completely open for air to meter fuel through the boosters properly. So it's just one little thing. Pop the air cleaner off real quick once you got it all heated up. And if you've got a lot of play in the choke, your choke needs to be adjusted or fixed to make sure that it's will open up all the way. Made mention of this a few times, that when you're hooking up the electric choke to find a key on 12 volt constant source of power, a lot of times you go, I'm going to just hook it to the coil, or I'm going to hook it to the distributor feed wire. That's supposed to be 12 volts, right? It's a 12 volt system. Not accurate, especially if it's a older vehicle, again, that you've converted over to, HEI, or it had a points distributor in it, whatever the case may be. So you have to be very careful. A lot of times it'll have a ballast in there that will reduce the amount of power going to the distributor. And this is a really good example. So I've got a ballast here, and then we're going to take a look at, let me hook up some power here and complete the circuit. And let's take a look and see what that looks like. Now, when you see, it is not 12 volts. It's 10, 8. Let's go look at the battery. 12.5 volts. So that ballast, if it has one in the ignition system, is killing the power going to the choke, which will cause it to not operate properly. So again, I know it sounds like a good idea. It's easy, it's convenient, it's close by, it should be very simple, but running that, the choke off of something that you are not sure is 12 volt power can hurt you. It's always best to wire it directly into the fuse box. That way you've got actual 12 volt power. You can measure it, take a look at it, or there's other places under hood generally that you can do that. But ignition and alternator, horrible places to do it. Don't hook it up that way. We'll quickly talk about linkages and setting fast idle for choke. I covered it in a couple other videos before, but There was enough questions about it that I figured it might as well just clarify a few things. So let's talk about the linkage first. The Edelbrock choke is a little bit easier, and the fast idle side is a little bit easier because it's a little bit easier to see how everything works. So there's a couple of things that are important here. You've got a fast idle cam, which is where you want it to be when you initially set up fast idle. So when you drive around, shut the vehicle off, come back a couple hours, day later, whatever, and you need to reset the choke, you just hammer the throttle back once, let the nozzle, squirt a little bit of fuel, and what happens is that fast idle cam will bump itself up to the second position or the top position, which will give you the fastest fast idle speed. Makes sense? These are stepped. It's got a couple of different areas on there, but when you release the throttle, it allows you to go up onto the faster setting, and that's what actually sets the choke. The choke closes all the way, power key on, choke sets itself, and then once you hit the throttle, it will set the fast idle cam. The thing that confuses people is once you get it set, you do need to set the speed. Now, this is a tough one because you've got a couple of things here at play. You've got the choke and how closed the throttle plate or the choke plate is. So I always err on the side of setting the choke a little richer. It's okay to be a little richer, meaning there's less air coming through, the choke is closed off more. You're always better off that way than it being too lean and adding more air coming through there on a cold situation. Now, I'm in the Mid-South. It doesn't get that cold down here, and it doesn't last very long, a couple of weeks, month at the most. We have really nasty cold weather down here. So I tend to set mine a little leaner. If you're in the northern states, in Canada, wherever the case may be, where it's long, sustained, very cold weather, then set it a little bit richer and it'll help warm up the engine a little bit quicker. But in conjunction with that, it's best to set the idle speed at its highest level when the engine is warm. So when you go to make this adjustment, make sure the choke is fully engaged in the highest speed here, and then set the speed where you want to. If you want to idle at 1200 RPM, 1300 RPM, whatever it is that you want on the fast idle side of things, set it there. Then you can adjust it down here to this initial fast idle setting, and you can set that speed as well too. So it's a little confusing in it, but again, that's why when you get in to fire up an electric choke vehicle, the very first thing before you go key on, hit the throttle, allow the choke to come up to its highest level. You've already set the speed there, you're good to go. This one can get a little confusing, but this plate here, this one that's moving, is a secondary lockout plate. So what happens is when you go full choke, hit the throttle, you're now into the primary slot where the carburetor is in full choke. The secondaries are locked from being opened, so they can't open arbitrarily. The choke's closed. You should be at that speed where you're getting the cold or the fast idle to get the engine warmed up, but that is all that plate is for. Now, what confuses folks is if you flip this carburetor upside down and actuate that, sometimes it will lock that and the secondaries won't open. But when it is down in this area where it operates, this does what it's supposed to do. Here it is upside down, and it's not going to release itself. So when you operate the throttle, the choke is going to stay engaged, and what happens is the secondaries don't open, and people will get confused and go, oh, my carburetor's jacked up. My secondaries aren't opening. No, the lock is still engaged, and it's not allowing it to have the secondaries open up. So when you let it fall or let it go where it's supposed to normally operate, the secondaries will work fine. So again, I get it. It's all confusing, but your carburetor doesn't operate this way. Flip it right side up and then verify that the secondaries aren't opening if there is a problem. But just another little detail that I think throws people off a little bit when they're not used to how that lockout works for the secondaries. Last one here applies to both, and we'll talk about the Holley here in just a second. But when you set fast idle, If it is too advanced or too on the fast side, you can get into the transfer slots quite a bit. And when you're flowing all that extra fuel through the transfer slot, it can complicate things a little bit. So once the engine's fully warmed up, tap the throttle again, release the choke, allow it to fully open up, or continue to fully open up, and should be good to go, because then you are back at your base idle speed setting at that point, and you should be back to where the transfer slots aren't as exposed as we just did when we pulled the choke off there. Kind of see it with the choke engaged. Transfer slots are very exposed. When you pull it completely, then you get into a spot where the transfer slots aren't as exposed as what they should be. The Holley electric choke is really the same. You've got a witness marks here on the body, you've got the mark here on the housing, and all you do is rotate that housing same way you do on the Edelbrock to set it either rich or lean. Obviously that is very rich, and as you open it up, it's leaner. So again, I usually just set these, depending on, again, your climate, just so the choke is just barely touching and set. Then you can lock it down, see if that's good for you and the environment that you're in, and give the choke or the engine plenty of time to warm up, and then the choke pull off. Setting the fast idle speed's a little more complicated on the Holley. It really likes it to be done when the engine's very cold. So you usually just get one shot at it. Then as the engine warms up, then you've got to let it cool all the way back down. But where the fast idle cam is on the driver's side, passenger side is on the Holley carburetor down there. Now the Holley's a little weirder when it comes to setting this. So the way Holley tells you to do it is go wide open throttle on the throttle, take a wrench, 1/4 inch wrench, back the fast idle screw completely out, not completely out of its little brass ferrule there, but back it off so it doesn't contact the cam. When you go to set fast idle, do it on the idle speed side, set it to the speed that you want to be on for warm up, and then once you verified that engine's completely warmed up, shut it off. Then what you can do is go back over here to the other side and then make that adjustment with the idle speed screw or fast idle cam screw, and then just tighten it down so the screw is just touching the cam, and it's generally pretty close. The good news is on electric choke, setting it lean, rich, correcting any issues with it, setting the fast idle, all of it's pretty easy. Just take your time with it and get to learn about it. Put your hands on it. Get a chance to understand how it functions and works, and see how the linkages work, and things that open up the chokes and keep them open or closed, or lock out the secondaries. All that's just taking a little bit of time and putting your hands on it and just seeing what happens when you move something. You're not going to screw it up. If you do, everything on these carburetors when it comes to chokes and fast idle speed and cams and all that stuff is pretty easy to adjust. So if you have any questions on this one, don't hesitate. Please leave them down below. I'm very, very sorry to inundate you with all of the Edelbrock, but I get the weirdest, and I say it on Facebook and everywhere else too, but I get the weirdest names for Edelbrock, and it's been around 85, almost 90 years. Maybe it's time to figure out how to spell that poor man's name. So anyway, if you got any questions, leave them down below. I hope you enjoyed this one, and yeah, we'll catch you guys on the next one. We'll see you.